Forget the myths. Forget the femme fatale whispered about in Roman halls. The true story of Cleopatra is not one of seduction, but of steel. A saga of a brilliant mind in a world of brutes, a queen who stared down the most powerful empire on earth and nearly brought it to its knees. This is the story of the last pharaoh of Egypt. She was born into a dynasty drowning in its own legacy. The Ptolemies, Greek rulers of an ancient Egyptian land, were a family defined by opulence, brutal power struggles, and a legacy stretching back to Alexander the Great himself. From a young age, Cleopatra, fluent in 9 languages, including the native Egyptian tongue, a rarity for her family, knew that the throne was not a birthright, but a battlefield. Her first enemy was her own brother, the boy king Ptolemy XIII. Guided by ambitious courtiers, he exiled his brilliant older sister, forcing her into the harsh Syrian desert. But Cleopatra was no damsel in distress. She was a general in the making, raising a mercenary army ready to reclaim her kingdom by force. Then the chessboard of the world tilted. Julius Caesar, the Titan of Rome, fresh from his victory over his rival Pompey, arrived in Alexandria. He came as a debt collector, a kingmaker, an arbiter of Egypt's fate. For the exiled Cleopatra, he was not a threat, but an opportunity, a gamble of epic proportions. Outmaneuvering her brother's guards, she devised a plan of breathtaking audacity. She had herself smuggled into the palace, wrapped tightly within a roll of carpets. When the rug was unfurled at Caesar's feet, it wasn't treasure that was revealed, but a queen. Young, intelligent, and radiating an unshakable will to power. In that moment, the fate of Egypt and of Rome was irrevocably altered. Caesar, captivated by her intellect and daring, sided with her. The brief, brutal Alexandrian War erupted in the city streets. Roman legions clashed with forces loyal to her brother. The great library of Alexandria burned, a tragic loss of ancient knowledge. But when the smoke cleared, Cleopatra was the undisputed ruler of Egypt, with Caesar as her powerful ally and lover. Their union was political, personal, and profound. She gave him a son, Caesarion, a potential heir to bridge 2 worlds. Together, they sailed the Nile on a magnificent barge, a display of power and pageantry meant to solidify her rule and showcase Egypt's wealth to the Roman general. But the world was changing. In 44 BC, the daggers of assassins cut short Caesar's life on the floor of the Roman Senate. Cleopatra's protector was gone, and Rome was plunged into a new civil war. She had to navigate a treacherous new landscape, this time facing Caesar's heir, Octavian, and his charismatic rival, Mark Antony. Antony, now the master of Rome's eastern territories, summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus. He intended to question her loyalty and demand funds. He expected a supplicant. He got a goddess. She arrived not as a vassal, but as Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, sailing up the river Cydnus on a barge with a gilded stern, purple sails, and silver oars, surrounded by attendants. Antony was utterly enchanted. What began as a political summit blossomed into one of history's most legendary love affairs. They were a power couple on a global scale. Their ambitions culminated in the donations of Alexandria. In a lavish public ceremony, Antony declared Caesarion to be Caesar's true son and heir, and distributed Roman-controlled lands to Cleopatra and their own children. To Rome, this was an unforgivable betrayal. Octavian, a master of propaganda in Rome, seized upon the opportunity. He painted Antony as a decadent traitor, bewitched by a foreign sorceress who sought to rule Rome from Alexandria. The Roman Senate stripped Antony of his command and declared war, not on him, but on Cleopatra. The final confrontation came at sea. The Battle of Actium in 31 BC was a colossal naval engagement. Antony and Cleopatra's heavy, powerful quinqueremes faced Octavian's smaller, more agile Liburnian ships. The battle was a disaster. Miscommunication and tactical errors led to chaos. Seeing the tide turning, Cleopatra's squadron broke through the line and fled back to Egypt. Antony, abandoning his fleet and his men, followed her. The defeat was total. Their armies deserted, their allies vanished. Octavian pursued them to Alexandria. The end was near. Antony, hearing a false report of Cleopatra's death, fell on his own sword, dying in her arms in the mausoleum where she had barricaded herself. Alone and cornered, Cleopatra knew her fate under Octavian would be humiliation, to be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains as a trophy of his triumph. She would not allow it. According to the legend that has echoed through millennia, she chose her own end, smuggling in an asp hidden in a basket of figs and allowing the venomous snake to strike. She died a queen, on her own terms, defiant to the very last. Cleopatra was more than the sum of her legendary romances. She was a brilliant scholar, a shrewd administrator, a naval commander, and a polyglot who spoke the language of her people. For 2 decades, she held the might of Rome at bay, not with beauty alone, but with a formidable intellect and an iron will. She was the last of the Ptolemies, the final pharaoh, a woman who dared to challenge an empire and in doing so forged an immortal legacy. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the complex and powerful life of Cleopatra. Her story, like countless others, is a vital thread in the grand tapestry of our past, and understanding that past is what we are all about here at The History of Us All. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more of the events and figures that shaped our world, please subscribe to the channel.